Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we are absolutely dismantling what is probably the single biggest hurdle for native Korean speakers trying to learn Japanese kanji. If you've ever stared at a page of Japanese text and just felt this massive wave of anxiety wash over you, trust me, you're in exactly the right place. We are going to completely change how you look at those characters.
Let's be real for a second. Is kanji completely blocking your progress? It's such a common struggle, Feeling completely overwhelmed by the sheer volume of characters you think you just have to blindly memorize. For so many beginners, it really feels like a brick wall, like thousands of random, unconnected shapes and sounds that require endless, frustrating repetition. But what if I told you that you already hold the cheat code in your brain just by knowing Korean?
Here's our quick agenda for today. First, shared roots. 2. On-reading versus Kun-reading. 3. The Hangul rule. 4. Everyday examples. And 5. Creating your daily routine. Let's get into it. Kicking things off with Section 1, Shared Roots, diving into the kanji cultural sphere.
So to actually crack this code, we've got to shift our perspective and remember our shared origins. Like the research behind Japanese words solved with Hangul highlights, Korea, China, and Japan all share the exact same kanji cultural sphere. And because of that shared history, strong echoes of the original pronunciations still exist today. Centuries ago, these Chinese characters were imported into both Korea and Japan. And yeah, the languages evolved differently over time, but the underlying phonetic blueprint, the actual sound of the character, maintained a distinct, traceable connection.
Moving right along to Section 2, On-reading versus Kun-reading, knowing the difference.
Okay, before I hand over the master key, we literally have to draw a hard line between the two ways Japanese characters are read. On-reading translates to sound reading. This is the pronunciation imported from China, just like your Korean Hanja sounds. And because they share that root, they're predictable. Now, Kun-reading, on the other hand, is the meaning reading. These are indigenous Japanese words that existed way before writing, and they were simply attached to the imported Chinese characters based on meaning alone. There's no phonetic connection to Korean there at all. So to save you from beginner confusion, we are focusing purely on the on-reading.
Which brings us to Section 3, the Hangul rule, your master key to kanji.
Now that we've isolated on-reading, let's look at how this systematically builds. A Korean Hanja sound morphs into a predictable Japanese on-reading pronunciation based on strict, predictable rules. It's basically a simple three-step flow. You take the base Hanja, look at its Korean Hangul pronunciation, and then, through a set of consistent phonetic shifts, you can accurately predict the Japanese sound. You aren't starting from zero, you're translating a sound you already know.
Take a look at this. This is a standard dictionary entry for the number 5. In Korean, the Hanja is pronounced ul. Right below it, the Japanese on-reading reading is go. We're transforming the Korean ul directly into the Japanese go. This is your first major pattern to lock in. When you see a character that has the Hangul sound ul, there is an incredibly high probability that its Japanese on-reading sound is going to be go.
Let's see this in action with Section 4, Everyday Examples proving the O equals go rule.
By anchoring these new Japanese sounds to concepts you literally already know, like the pentagon or the 5 senses, it takes all the fear out of learning them. For instance, the Korean word for pentagon is o-gak-hyung. Using our rule, we just swap the o for go, which gives us the Japanese go-kaku-kei. 5 senses in Korean, o-gam. In Japanese, go-kan. The 5 oceans, odeyang, translates beautifully to go-ta-yu. You see what's happening? You're literally just tweaking your existing vocabulary.
Let's keep going, because this brilliantly illustrates how consistent this rule really is. Notice how the Hangul O reliably translates to the Japanese go across every single one of these familiar words. The 5 virtues, odak, becomes gotoku. The Olympics, orion, shifts easily to go-rin. The super popular board game omak is gomoku in Japanese. And the month of May, owal is simply gogatsu. Actually, think of it like a mathematical formula for vocabulary building. It just works.
So, how do we use this every day? Section 5, Daily Routine, your actionable strategy.
Let's take all of this and build an incredibly efficient daily workflow for your self-study. Step 1, when you learn a new kanji, identify the Hangul sound first. Step 2, predict the Japanese on-reading using the transformation rules we're talking about. Step 3, instantly link it to Korean vocabulary associations to really lock it into your memory. And Step 4, treat the Japanese Kun-reading as completely separate vocabulary so you don't frustrate yourself looking for a pattern that isn't there.
But predicting the onyomi from the Hangul sound, you turn stressful rote memorization into a totally logical, empowering puzzle.
So I'll leave you with this thought to chew on. Look around your room right now, find an everyday word based on Hanja, and try to guess its Japanese onyomi pronunciation today. Remember, you aren't a blank slate. You are a native Korean speaker armed with a linguistic master key. Stop blindly memorizing and start decoding. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and have an absolute blast using your new Japanese learning superpower.